Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another Temple 420 Sabbath Seshs. I'm here with CraigX Rubin, the founder of Temple 420, and we're here bringing our weekly kind of sess that we bring and talk about the Bible, go through different things going on in life, and go around with things here. I'll start us off here with a prayer here.
Amen.
Dear Almighty God, thank you for bringing us together to discuss your word and the things that are going on. Help us inspire other people to stay strong through the battles of life and to seek after you and to know that you're the one who gives us the ultimate things in the end. The things we get here on earth are going to go away from us, and that God has our soul and leads us the correct way. Amen.
Amen. So, I've been thinking about the simulation.
Oh, yeah.
That we're living in a simulation.
I could see that be one of the feasible ways. I never see that evolution is a feasible way, but if somebody wants to pull up another reason, I could see the simulation would make a lot of sense. I could even see it kind of in a way make sense in a way that we don't quite understand, kind of in that weird metaphysical way that God is and is through everything and affects everything and is omnipotent, omnipresent in a way that we don't even understand yet.
I think that's it. I think that we're all one, but we're not the same, like U2 says. You know that song?
Yeah.
We're one, but we're not the same. Like, for somehow there is some differentiation between my body and your body and everybody's body, and yet at the same time we all breathe the same air, and we can't live without that air. So if you can't live without it, it really is part of you.
Right.
And then we all share it. Did you know that trees, what they're mostly made of?
Carbon, right?
Carbon, straight out of the air.
Yeah.
And so trees are made out of thin air also. Even though we think it's the water, the soil, they're mostly converting oxygen, carbon dioxide, and taking out the carbon and releasing the oxygen.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that's why when we burn them, it's carbon based that we're burning, and we end up with carbon or charcoal at the end. I don't know. I know that's not biblical. Maybe it is biblical. How does we're one with everything relate to the Bible?
Right. I was actually trying to pull up the one here too that I found interesting with that too, is the Jesus Christ, when he talks about he's one with God in the garden when he's praying that prayer. A lot of people refer to that one and says, oh, he's saying right there that he's God and that he's one. But then he goes right on to pray that we will be one as well, like
Right.
He's with God. And I'm like, well, if he's one with them, he doesn't switch what kind of one he's using, right? So he's using some kind of way that we're one. Like when I've looked at it in the Hebrew, it says that it's the echad, like some kind of union together.
The echad.
Yeah, rather than like the one we would think of kind of in English. There's the number one.
So, okay. So in echad, because we say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elokeinu, Adonai Echad, and that means, hear, O Israel, our God is one.
Right.
But like you said, it's that one of the one that encompasses everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what he starts out telling Moses too, is that he's the one.
And he tells the high priest, when they're giving him one of those trials the night before his murder, is he goes, oh, Abraham saw this, and before Abraham was, I am. So he's claiming to be God right there. He is the I am, the Echer Asher Echer, the I am that I am.
I heard that he did that too when he was talking to Peter and coming across the water too. And
what did he say to Peter? He goes, Lord, if you want, call me and I'll come to you. Right?
Yeah. Heard before that he was saying that he is the I am. Essentially, I have to look and see what verse that is here. Somebody pointed that out when I was at church the other day, and I was like, that's interesting, because he was going over all the times that Jesus Christ said that I am. But that's an interesting dynamic too, I think, because he has the authority, but then there's things that definitely set him apart. But then when I think about that too, that matches with us and the image that we've got like that, because our sons could go represent us and do all the things, just like there's also in the parable where he does that too, where he sends his slaves or his workers, and then the guy kills them, and then he sends his son even, and they end up killing him. To me, that's a complete mirror of what Christ did there.
Right. First, the God sent the prophets to tell them, hey, you're going off the track. And nearly every single one of the prophets was killed as well. Jailed, killed, something. The people don't like being told the truth. And then they all, oh, he was a prophet after he's dead. And it's kind of like similar to Jesus. They say, oh, we worship him, he heals the people. And then they're all disappointed, including Judas, who's one of his closest buddies, most trusted disciples. He's the one in charge of the money. Suddenly, he sees that he's going to be arrested and murdered. And well, he doesn't know he's going to be murdered, but arrested and taken off the streets for the Passover, because they want him to, the followers want him to revolt and become the king of Israel and defeat Rome.
Right.
And so even they felt disappointed when he's like, my kingdom is not of this world. And Pilate's like, good enough for me. You don't want to be a king of this world. That's fine.
I just saw it here a moment. All right.
I feel like we're having a slow start today.
Not too bad.
Some of the, have you seen the DMT experiments where they look at a laser and they see the letters?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Which makes you feel like the entire dynamic of the world is somewhat digital or versus analog, and then a simulation.
There, I found it there. I was slow at getting it up there, and I wanted to see and compare my different versions here too, because they said that. Because it's Matthew 14:27.
And what does the Bible say?
It says, when the Chaldeans saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified and said, it's a ghost, and they screamed in fear. But at once Yeshua spoke to them, said, courage, he said, it is I, stop being afraid. And according to one of the pastors I said, he's actually saying, it is I am. Which when I look at the Kodesh ones, it does say, but Yeshua spoke to them right away and said, be brave. I am the I, and I, the self-existing living Elohim, do not be afraid.
Interesting. Now, which version does it say that? Is that the original Hebrew? Is that a Greek?
The one I see it fully on, that's the Kodesh scriptures, which is supposed to be taking it out of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Aramaic and the Hebrew.
Well, isn't Kodesh just holy? The Ruach HaKodesh, the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so the Kodesh just means the Holy Bible, then, right?
Yeah. So be the Kodesh scriptures, the Holy Scriptures.
But it's written. Does that try to stay more original to the Hebrew? Was Matthew? I don't know if Matthew was written in Greek or Hebrew. I know that they were very anti-Greek from
Yeah.
after defeating the Greeks, and then they called in the Romans. So
I'd have to look more, but I thought the Kodesh scriptures was based off of that idea too, that since Jesus spoke Aramaic, that there actually is an Aramaic like the Peshitta and stuff that was a translation out there. But some reason everybody wants to go with the Greeks, I'm guessing because the Roman and kind of the philosophy side there. But there was supposedly the Aramaic, like the Essene groups and some of the ones that are in the Catholic Church of the East that Catholic preserved. But Catholic,
Eastern Orthodox Church.
yeah, they said they've always had it in a Aramaic form, which
Okay.
some people say that's totally not true. But to me, that would make sense. If Jesus spoke Aramaic and there are other people, why wouldn't they write it down and maintain it in their language? It seems a lot of people want to push it to the Greek.
Right. And I really don't know. I'm not that much of a scholar that I know it at that minute level. That's where people get very impressive when they study the Bible that deeply.
And I tried to study it over multiple Bibles. I was surprised that I was actually with that Jewish temple on Tuesday, and the guy who runs it was saying the same thing, that he recommends looking at the various verses and or the various versions, and then meditating and praying on that and coming together with it. The Peshitta is the only one I've been able to read like clear, and it makes most of the time sense. But a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I've had to the rest of the time come on here like I'm doing now and compare various versions and see. Each one of those say I, but that one's the only one that expands it out to say that he's actually saying I am.
Oh, okay. And he's like saying, "I am," like relax. I am the Elohim.
Yeah, and don't be afraid.
Right. Well, and I love how the Bible says, "Don't be afraid," 365 times. It's like an everyday reminder. Have no fear. God is here.
Does it start with the fire and talking to Moses and telling Moses that?
I don't know where the first one is. That
Oh, I was curious.
that's getting into like really great Bible study when you start to know. Oh, it's the very first time he ever says, "Do not fear." um, yeah,
It's definitely interesting here.
I've been as I've been thinking about the simulation. I think about how your spirit and your soul is. Someone approached me the other day about a job. Like, hey, I have a way to make this money. And I'm like, it just doesn't seem wholesome to me. It doesn't seem like how I want to make money in this world. And I'm like, I get that you can make a bunch of money doing that. I said, but what does it gain the man to gain the world and lose his soul doing it? I said, that just doesn't seem like it's for me. And and we ended the conversation there. I mean, obviously, I think we kept talking about other stuff, but we both decided that that even though it's a legal way to make money, it didn't seem ethical or moral.
Yeah, I've run into that a few times. There's a few jobs that exactly don't want to do that. That's not the way that I would make money, even though you
Right,
can, especially when it
right,
becomes harm or detriment to other people, even if it's legal or so. Like,
right.
that's not cool.
So that's where we left the conversation, and then I started thinking about making money, selling cannabis. Is that an ethical way to make money? Making things with cannabis, and I've always been so pro cannabis my whole life, that I feel like anything making money with cannabis is moral and ethical. But I'm sure you have these prohibitionists, starting with Harry Anslinger, who will lie to the public, make them feel how dangerous this stuff is,
All
and
right.
some even whether they use medical terminology like it's addictive, it's cancer causing, it makes people psychotic, it leads to other things. What you put on a hemp shirt, next thing you know, you're shooting. I was gonna say marijuana. You're shooting heroin, marijuana. Uh, but that's their point of view, and I'm sure that they've had a brother, an older brother, or someone before they joined the DEA or whatever. Their older brother was an alcoholic, then tried marijuana. Then the next thing you know, they're on cocaine and heroin, and then they're dead from fentanyl. And that's their experience. So they're like, it's from the marijuana. you know, he started with cannabis. The beer was nothing. It wasn't until he tried cannabis that he ended up ODing on fentanyl. And there's in their mind, there's a direct link from one to the other.
Yeah, being in the Bible Belt, I see that quite a bit. I got my inspiration because I had the vision of God showing me that He provided it for us, and I felt like that was the right thing to go. I felt at looking down that path, trying to figure out what He was talking about, and found cannabis and the wrong things the church even does with it, claiming that Satan created it and
Right.
all this crazy stuff. And I really ran into people here that are like, hey, I had a cousin that did that and then went on 5 different other things, like you were mentioning there. But usually it seems like to me, they were people that had an addictive personality, or they were having issues that they needed an escape. And one thing leads to another. And so I wouldn't myself completely blame it on the cannabis. But I can see when you're upset like that, and that's something that comes in and kind of interrupts the life, and you don't know anything about it. That definitely.
Right. Well, and then you have all the propaganda of the government, which is really the propaganda of big oil, the beer companies, cigarette companies, chemical companies, all of whom work together to ban hemp because it
And
was a
big cannabis.
competitor
Was
to their.
glad you posted that the other day.
What was that?
Said and big cannabis. I was glad to see you posted that the other day, because it really is.
Well, now it is. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't back in the day. There was no big cannabis. But now these quote MSOs, these multi-state operators, they don't want to see hemp be legal. They would rather it be $5 million per state to get an operating license
Yep.
rather than let anyone grow their own, because they want to stifle the competition and own a monopoly. And that's how people have traditionally gotten rich in any government, is you get a monopoly granted to you by the government. And that's what the marijuana movement has been about ever since George Soros got involved and started financing the MPP, the Marijuana Policy Project. And all those guys, I mean, we had been in this for years, and they all came in like, well, we've got lots of money. We're the professionals. We're going to have this thing legalized in a few years. So you just kick back and relax while we tell the politicians what to do and throw our fancy parties where we invite lots of people and supposedly raise money. I mean, I got invited to one or two of those parties, and it was at like Hugh Hefner's, like one of the child molesters himself, pedophile child molesters. It's at his house at the Playboy Mansion, and I got to sing with Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction. We sang "Jane Said" together. It was
Nice.
like that was freaking awesome. But other than that, I kind of felt like this weird vibe, like, man, and I was glad to be like, I got to go for free, like as a celebrity, because it was when I was on weeds. But at the same time, it was kind of creepy. It was like, I felt like the same thing happened in college. We started this free speech group, and then one of the Gulf Wars broke out. I forget, it was before 9/11. There was the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, but there was I think this was the 1991 a Gulf War, the first Gulf War with George Bush Sr. after Reagan had become president. Vice President Bush became president. He was former head of the CIA.
Yeah.
And all right, the water thing. I'm watching the pool, and the water thing. Oh, it righted itself. It fell over, and now it's fixing itself. That's so cool. All right, it's like a little vacuum cleaner. So, anyways, the first Gulf War happened, and I totally forgot where I was going after watching the water vacuum go over.
Yeah.
But shoot, where was I going with that?
I don't know. You were talking about. I got my phone ringing here. You were talking about Reagan and getting the stuff going on with that here.
Oh, all I remember is now was about George Bush. What it makes me think of is how the price of cocaine was $120 a gram, and marijuana was $30 or $25 an eighth. And then, literally, as soon as they started the Just Say No campaign to propagandize people against marijuana, which because 85% of all drug arrests are marijuana arrests.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they had this the war on drugs. The price of cocaine fell from $120 a gram to $60 a gram, and the price of marijuana jumped from $25 an eighth up to $50 or $60 an eighth. So it was this crazy time period, and gold was $240 an ounce. So people were spending more on marijuana than an ounce of gold. That would be like spending $4,500 now on an ounce of marijuana.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was definitely an inverted time period. I think gold was even cheaper than that. Gold was probably $170 an ounce.
Wow.
And marijuana was $300 to $500 an ounce.
I know the same thing you mentioned there is the same stories that I hear over here, but they were throwing parties, but apparently not as good as the Hugh Hefner ones, because I've heard they were having hotels and invited some of the activists and stuff over there. But then they were literally people of the state and the people of the big cannabis companies were actually sleeping in the same hotel rooms and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And they helped recently push to get Missouri to agree with the federal thing that there'll be the hemp ban in
Well,
November.
and now I just remembered where I was going. Was we had this free speech club at UCLA where we would just talk and complain about what was going on in school, the crappy food, the expensive parking, whatever it was, kids had as a natural complaint. We would let anyone come up and talk. Sometimes it got a little heavy, pro-abortion, anti-abortion. Every day we would talk about marijuana legalization. But what happened was when the war broke out, the graduate students all of a sudden had all this money, and we had checked out, or I had checked out with my little free speech club, the microphone to speak at the campus, and we had built like a pretty steady audience, up from like 50 kids who like to smoke weed up to like 500 kids a day who like to hear the funny debates and smoke weed. And so then we all of a sudden the war starts, and these graduate students have all this money and influence, and suddenly they're able to take over our microphone. And they were called the Radical Student Alliance, the RSA. And they were like, oh, well, you're just undergraduates. They were very disrespectful to us, even though we had been building this group and meeting place up for the whole year. The only people who had used it the year before were Korean Christians who would come out, and nobody listened to them. And occasionally some kind of religious pastor that would fire and brimstone the college kids, and they would like get more turned off from religion than be excited about it. It wasn't like Tony Hinchcliffe, who debated in a friendly, intelligent way. They were more like, you're going to hell.
Yeah. I don't like that approach as much. I see some people need it, but I don't think that's really the compassionate, hopeful. one most of the time. I think some people do need the fear of death, and but they will go that way if they don't shake themselves up though too. So
Right. Yeah, and I'm not one who can relate to that as well. I like a more thoughtful, like a Tony Hinchcliffe. You know who I'm talking about when I say his name. I think I'm saying the right one and not Kill Tony.
who Tony is for sure.
There's this older gentleman now, and he started out when he was younger, and he would go to colleges, and he'd preach the Bible. And I might be mixing him with Kill Tony, but I think what's Kill Tony's name?
I'm not sure what his actual name is.
All right. Well, there's this one pastor that is very reasonable, intelligent, thoughtful, and he goes to college campuses. And
he is Anthony Hinchcliffe. Yeah.
oh, okay, Anthony Hinchcliffe. And then is Tony Hinchcliffe the comedian, the gay comedian who does Kill Tony?
It said that was Kill Tony when I asked what Kill Tony's name was. It says Anthony.
Oh, okay. Then there's ask the name of a college preacher named Hinchcliffe also. We'll see. How cool is this that all this knowledge is at our fingertips?
I really like it. Oh, was that Cliff Ninchip?
Cliff what?
I can't ever say his name right. The Cliff Ninchi, the guy that has a son too. I put it on the screen there.
Let me see if I can see that. Yeah, I can't. I see the middle picture.
Yeah,
and it's too small for me with my glasses.
There he is.
Yep, that's him. That's him.
Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah.
Cliff. What's his name? Cliff.
Yeah.
Cliff. And how do you spell the last name?
Knecchtle. So Nichel. No.
Okay, Cliff Nichel. All right, so you can understand how I got them confused. They both have the Cliff in their name. So this guy, I like the way he preaches at colleges. He's a very compassionate, good listener, and he gives people the space to share their opinion, and then he hopefully tries to correct them on the Bible if he can. And it's insightful, and I think he brings a lot of people to the Lord because of his love.
Yeah, he also listens to completely what they have to say and goes on the reasoning that they have to say, picks it up pretty good.
Correct. He's not just screaming at them.
Yeah, and lets them actually ask some of their odd questions and then takes it really tactfully. I really like how he does that.
Yeah. So you know this guy. So anyways, so that's what I think we tried to do more with our free speech club, and then these graduate students rolled on in and kind of rolled over us with they're all being older than us and having more money than us. And that was kind of the way in the marijuana industry, when George Soros started sponsoring the marijuana policy project, they did the same thing. They just had all the money, and we're the professionals. You hippies just want to smoke weed. We're here to actually make it legal. And they did do some good, because they were good at, hey, we're with George Soros and politicians listen, and then they have money to donate to these politicians. They were throwing parties and raising money and spreading money around, and that's how shit actually gets done in this world sometimes.
Were they related to Safer, or was Safer made with somebody else? Because Safer, I know, was one of the biggest.
I think that might have been the guys out of Denver, because they had this very incredible campaign, marijuana is safer than alcohol.
Yeah.
And they got marijuana legalized in Denver recreationally, or they didn't really get it legalized. They made it the absolute lowest priority. And they did all these things to show that you could be an impaired marijuana driver and drive fine, pass all the tests, where you couldn't do that with alcohol. And so they kept making the comparison: marijuana is safer than alcohol, marijuana is safer than alcohol. And they had this very successful campaign and legalized marijuana. Well, decriminalized marijuana in Denver. And they were one of the best first starts of, because Jack and out here in California was working so hard for the California Hemp Initiative, California Marijuana Initiative, whatever they were calling it. And the most effective person in California was Dennis Perone, who, like Denver, focused on one city, San Francisco, and got Proposition P passed.
Nice.
Yeah. And that allowed him to sell marijuana and provide marijuana for AIDS patients and other people that were terminally ill. And that's when they created that giant weed fucking Amsterdam in San Francisco. It was pretty awesome.
And I know the Safer did a lot, and especially used the college campus kind of as a good example. Like, do you want all these kids smoking weed, or do you want them drinking?
Well, and that's what I said as a student, as a parent. I would rather my kids smoke marijuana than drink alcohol and be idiots.
Right, yeah. Get into fights, get into accidents, get
sleep around, get pregnant, whatever. Not use their best judgment because their brains are impaired.
Which I think also goes different with cannabis. A lot of the people here that don't know and don't understand are like, oh, you're going to do the same things like alcohol. When you do that, you're going to go sleep around and do all kinds of crazy things. Like, cannabis has never done that to me. So I don't know other people. I've seen people get wild after smoking. But
yes, the people who drink alcohol and smoke, and it's like all but just part of their getting high thing rather than, oh, I just do cannabis.
Yeah. I had a friend too that would smoke and then get really hyperactive and start getting into trouble and stuff. So,
you know, like you said, I think he might have had that personality before he ever tried the marijuana.
That was the big thing that I've always seen amplified too, is a lot of the people who are slacky and don't do anything when they smoke weren't going to do anything in the first place. Those guys that are living in their mom's basement were going to live in their mom's basement anyways. They're just smoking weed as it's something to do.
Right. Well,
like, let's do it.
That reminded me of something. People, when cocaine was very popular back in the 70s and 80s, there was a comedian who said, yeah, it just all cocaine does is amplify your personality that you have already. And then someone said, well, what happens if you're an asshole?
You're right. Yep.
Then you become a bigger asshole.
Alcohol does that for sure. You're ready to fight with people if you're an asshole, and then get drinking. Don't have any reservation to fight them.
For sure. And then some people, the happy drunks and functional drunks, can just drink and drink and drink, go to bed, wake up and do it all over again the very next day. And, you know, they're not affected in that negative way by the alcohol, where they're fighting, and they may be affected by their liver or other things, but some people are definitely more tolerant of the alcohol than others.
I think that's specifically where the Bible tells us too, that don't be doing that by brothers and leading bad examples for other brothers that don't have that kind of strength and stuff too. Because there definitely are people that if they see you drinking, and you can be one of those ones, that they'll start drinking and then they'll lose all things that they're doing. Totally
my uncle was a functional alcoholic at the end of his life, but he had a couple times during his life where the alcohol took him over and he couldn't function. So I my grandfather was a drinker too. I've gotten drunk a few times and just acted like an idiot most every time. So I've always tended to stay away from alcohol.
I don't like the whole thing that you totally like black out and totally lose what you're doing and stuff.
Have you ever blacked out before?
Yeah.
Okay. They say mostly only real alcoholics can black out. So that's probably why you recognized it doesn't work for your body and you stayed away from it.
I know I've done crazy things though too. Like one time I was at a party and just I was sitting on the ground and drunk like 14 shots of vodka and I felt perfectly fine. And then when I stood up, it totally like rushed around my whole body. And the rest from there was kind of just pieces of what was going on. And I don't know. Then I passed out at some point. That I didn't have any idea what was going on. So things like that, and then it's experiences of seeing people do that and then beat people and totally do crazy things. Like I never want to be in that kind of mind state, so I've tried to avoid that kind of thing. I don't want to be in a state that I can't control what I'm doing or don't even know and just wake up and, oh yeah, you got in a fight with somebody and beat them up while you were so wasted.
Yeah, I've done stupid stuff myself, so that's why I just decided that alcohol was not the right thing for me. But I will drink a beer. With my wife, we'll have like we call it a chilada, which is lemons or limes squeezed over ice with salt on the rim. And so we'll share like one nice cold beer uh, and just enjoy the beer, but we don't get buzzed from one beer or anything. And then we kind of stop.
Yeah, occasionally I'll even drink and get a little bit of a buzz, but that's as far as I take it. I won't.
Right. So I guess you have more control then. So the real alcoholic,
Yeah.
they start to lose control after that first drink and then they can't stop.
Yeah, yeah. Thank God that I've been able to not get into that addiction lifestyle.
Right. Yeah.
I've had to go, since there's so many crazy things with that stuff, go through the therapy for that kind of stuff. Since I got busted in Colorado, they had me do the drug kind of thing. And then I can really tell with going through that and stuff that there are people that really have that addiction to everything, that they'll get addictions to all the pleasures and stuff. So,
right.
There's sex addicts, gambling addicts, all kinds of addicts, all adrenaline addicts that have to do something crazy and all that and completely do it over and over and over. And so it's really definitely a mindset thing for sure. I'm glad God set mine in a good manner.
Yeah. I was illegally stopped with a roach in my ashtray, and I had a medical marijuana card, but the judge said no, not for smoking in your car. I said I wasn't smoking in my car. It was a roach that was left in there, and sentenced me to 10 hours of AA or Narcotics Anonymous. And I went one time. I had 2 tires slashed in the parking lot of this church in Hollywood, and I never went again. I'm like, this shit's I was like the worst experience. I'm like, I couldn't relate. There was no one there for marijuana addiction.
Yeah.
They were all there for like heroin and this and that. Their stories were horrific. The people were like pretty horrific themselves. And they all wanted to be friends and be my sponsor or something. And I'm like, oh, this just seemed like some leechy kind of cult.
It is. It's so religious, not religious, kind of weird setup there.
So anyways, I had to get someone to sign my card. And I realized, oh, this judge isn't checking on this dude up in Hollywood, whether he signed my card or not. So I got my tires replaced. I had to have my car towed. And I'm like, I'm never going back there. This was the worst experience. It cost me so much. And I just filled the thing out for myself and signed it all myself, or had some other friends of mine just sign it. Like, hey, I need a different signature on here.
Maybe I saw the How High or whatever movie it was before, because I felt like it was definitely like that Bob Saget moment where he had to go because he got in trouble and had to go to the NA meeting, and Bob Saget was all mad at him. Was like, it's not like Coke, it's just marijuana. And I felt like it was that kind of thing. Like the people that were there when I went were people that were like nurses stealing people's drugs and all kinds of wild heroin things and stuff. And then I'm like guy that's like, I smoke pot.
Right. Right. Yeah, I run a successful business. I smoke a little bit of cannabis. Right. I mean, not that I'm any better than anyone else, but I just felt like this was a bad influence. Like, I don't even want to be around these people. Like,
Well, just that they've run into so much other traumatic things, which I can't like disavow or say anything with that. But then it's just like, oh, I just got in trouble for smoking a little bit of weed, and they're like,
yeah,
my whole life fall apart for
right, yeah,
pills or for
right. Like,
I'm like, what?
I smoked marijuana. Oh, I ate too many Rice Krispie treats. I had these weird burps. Like, what are we gonna? I got the munchies, man. Anyway, I ate a whole box of Captain Crunch with no milk, just shoveling it down in front of the TV. I ripped up the roof of my mouth.
And then like Bob Saget yells at him too for like it's not Coke. Like you didn't do all these other things that you would do for Coke. It was pretty implicit in that joke. Like, yep, that's not one of us.
That's yeah. Our like I said, our courts, it's our government that's more out of control than anything. And it's just our government is just who they work for, which are the big corporations. So you could really say, what's the guy's name? Fink, who runs BlackRock?
Is it Mike Finkelstein? Maybe.
No, he's definitely he's Jewish, but I think it's only Fink. Maybe you could look that one up too. BlackRock chairman, CEO, Larry Fink. Yeah, and there's Larry Ellison, Mark Zuckerberg. There's Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, all the billionaires, Elon Musk that we know.
Right.
I'm sure there's so many more that we don't know.
Oh yeah.
That are having an influence on our society, but it's interesting how they give us certain ones to know.
Right. Just kind of as a face.
Right.
But that's the way to affect it is to keep your money quiet and stay in the background. Don't say anything.
Well, that's like Larry Fink over at BlackRock. Him, State Street, and Vanguard, they're the actual powers behind the power. So it's interesting how they say Hollywood's controlled by the people that run the major agencies too, because they have the writers, the directors, they're connected to the producers, and they're able to package a film with movie stars and directors and writers and everyone else. They don't do the bottom, the below line people, but they like to have all the above the line people in their agency. And so you have 6 effective agencies controlling the entire entertainment industry. It's changing with the new technology, but it's still run by very few people. The actual pyramid has a small top.
So we got the independent reporters are just slowly creeping up there, which gets them mad.
Right.
The Daily Wire and the Blaze and Redacted and all these people.
Yeah. I've been listening to less and less news these days. It just, I don't care as much anymore. I don't know. Not that I don't care about what's going on in the world, but I mostly just care about what's going on with my family, I guess.
Yeah, it gets stressful and crazy, and there's not much you can do about it. So it really doesn't do.
So it doesn't serve us to listen all the time.
Yeah.
You don't want to be ignorant about what's going on, but I think you can remain. I see more about Candace Owens in Russia, how these people are freaking out. Like, oh, see, she really is a Russian foreign agent. I'm like, oh. And she's like, oh, look how beautiful Russia is. Nice, Christian. They're promoting big families. I don't know. Anyways, I'm down to 1% here. So I am going to lose you any second. I don't know how that happens. Oh, it does, because I listen to the videos at night.
Right.
I started at 20% though, so we went 44 minutes and 44 seconds there before I got to 1%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you before I get disconnected.
Sounds good. Good seeing you.
All right. You as well. God bless. Thank you for doing this every Saturday. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Let's see here. I'll wrap it up here with a prayer. Dear Almighty Living God, thank you for the blessings you give us. Thank you for helping us with our discussion, and maybe have brought glory to your name and encourage people to look into the things that you say and the ways that you help lead that can make better lives. Thank you for all that you give us, and may people be blessed and follow after you. Amen. God bless. Thanks for everybody who stayed out. Give information down here at the bottom as usual if you ever want to join us any of these weekends or join our groups and see what we have to say. Take care.